So cloud computing is doing well. We've learned some definitions. But what's the case for cloud computing? Well, there's a bunch of reasons why. One of the most compelling ones is that in traditional IT, I've got one machine, and if I give it a job to do, it's got to chew on that job. In cloud IT, I can say, I'd like 500 machines, please, and only pay for them for the hour I use them. So if I've got a task that takes 500 days, one machine will take 500 days to do it. 500 machines, if I can split that task up well enough, can take 1 day to do it. And what's interesting about that is that one machine running for 500 days, if I buy a computer and I run it for 2 years, I'm going to spend $1,000 on that computer plus its electricity and maintenance and fixing its hard drive. I'm going to probably spend $200 on those 500 machines. So I get my answer 499 days sooner, and it costs me less money. Now, not every application is like this. There are lots of applications that can't run in parallel or that you have to use every day anyway. But for those applications that do work like this, they're great. And by the way, agile companies that are progressive, take this latter approach. Clouds are also catching up because of self-service. It means less help desk traffic because people can deploy their own machines. You're not waiting for IT to get back to you with a server you needed. Clouds are also really good for elasticity. This is kind of a funny graph. Anybody know what this chart is? So on this chart, you see in the green line the typical amount of water consumption in Edmonton, which is part of Canada. And the blue line is the water consumption on a day when there was a hockey game somewhere. It was the Olympics. I think Canada and some other country were playing, and Canada did really well. You can see the difference between sustained load and spiky load of the water system as Canadians go to the bathroom and then celebrate. And that is actually showing you the break by periods. There are some applications that look like normal water consumption when nothing's happening. And then there's other applications that are very spiky and tied to some kind of event. And in this case, water in a day when Canada's winning a gold medal is probably a spiky application that's good for clouds. So clouds are very good at handling elastic, bursty loads like this. Clouds are also getting updated all the time. This is some data that came from a study that was done on WatchMess's infrastructure. This is Amazon improving the performance of its CloudFront content delivery network twice in 1 month. I don't know any IT organizations, private IT organizations, that fix their cloud performance, their performance twice in 1 month. So you're riding on the shoulders of giants here, because every time they upgrade their infrastructure or improve things, you benefit from it. Clouds can also have a considerable amount of performance here because you can really speed up tasks by assigning them to bigger machines when you need them. And another thing about clouds is that your expense report can no longer enforce IT policy. So in the old days, you had the expense report as a way of saying that none of you in the room could get into IT. Because if you bring me an expense report that says I'd like to buy $10,000 worth of servers, I'm going to say no. And therefore, you're not creating a rogue IT organization within the company. But the definition of policy for expense reports is that when something becomes materially substantial, you have to expense it. Now, if you guys were building an application and it took 10 cents, you probably wouldn't bother with the expense report. Like, that'd just be a pain in the butt. I mean, 10 cents, I don't care. So here's my credit card statement, which is probably a bad idea to put on the internet. And you'll notice a bunch of different things in here. And the cheapest of them, cheaper even than the Blizzard Enterprises World of Warcraft subscription, is the $1.10 for Google. All of a sudden, that idea of the expense report as a gatekeeper to stop rogue IT organizations from popping up in the company went away. And so now everyone can do this stuff, and IT doesn't have any control system anymore. This is an artificial control on adoption of new IT. It's another reason why cloud computing is getting picked up so quickly.